Okay, so there really is no way for me to introduce what I'm going to be talking about today. If you read the title of this video, you already know what I'm going to be talking about. The Rainbow Six Siege devs, and I know, in every single fan base of nearly every single game, there will always be people who say, "Oh, I can do a better job than the devs. I can balance the game better. I don't like what's going on with my game." There's always going to be someone who complains. There's always going to be someone who doesn't like the newest patch notes that have been released over a certain game, right? And you know, they'll always say that they can do a better job than the developer. And I'm not saying that I can do a better job than the developer, but holy crap. I want to look through this because the brand new patch notes for Year 6 Season 3 were just dropped, or the preseason patch notes were dropped. And so, of course, we have the win delta with operator versus presence, right? And as you can see, Yana, Sledge, and Ace are all pretty high in terms of presence and also in terms of win delta. And these three, coincidentally, were operators that were specifically mentioned in the previous patch notes whenever Zofia was being nerfed into the ground. And here, let me go ahead and find the change. Right. So, we have the changes over here. So right over here. Okay, so her gadget will continue to be a draw. But those looking for more easy to use frag focus attackers will find Ace, Sledge, and Yana more enticing options. And of course, now Sledge, Yana, and Ace have now increased in terms of presence. And guess what Ubisoft decides to do? Nerf all three operators. Nerf all three operators. The exact same operators they said that they wanted to see more instead of Zofia. And Zofia was being picked so often because Ubisoft refuses to add a solo queuing sort of ranked playlist, right? So let's go ahead and see how they were nerfed, right? Yana got the 2.5 scope and the 2x scope removed from her weapons. And what? Okay, Yana was so powerful, A, because of her fragging potential, and B, because of her utility. She had the gun 6, she had frag grenades, and she had a gadget that can take care of like Arunis and that sort of stuff, right? And you decide to take away her scopes? What? Why? Why? Because I bet you if the ARX and G36 were new weapons and they weren't available on other operators, those weapons would have been nerfed into the ground. I can guarantee you that. But because, they belong to Ash and Nomad, both of which are somewhat balanced, they weren't nerfed. Instead, they lost, their higher magnification scopes. What? Like, this would be the one operator that you could easily nerf. Maybe take away her frag grenades, or take away her gun 6, or increase the charge up time between using her replicator. Are you kidding me? Let's just move on to the next operator that was nerfed. Sledge. He got his SMG-11 removed. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sledge, for the longest time, has been the epitome of a balanced operator. Almost every single time a patch note came out, Sledge would usually be in this area right over here, or maybe over here. Maybe. But as people continue to leave Siege, people have been looking for operators that they can solo play, and Sledge is one of them. So he sort of, he was boosted, and he was still in the overpick 2 week the category right over here, and Ubisoft did nothing. Sledge has always been a balanced operator, always. He's one of the few operators who hasn't seen any very large changes since his release. Like, I think the only major kind of nerf that Sledge went through would be the removal of the ACOG on his SMG-11, and that was in like year 1 or year 2. That was year 1. I think it was I forgot the name of the operation. It was the one where Hibana and Echo came out. Are you kidding me? And look, it specifically says, population targeted by this change, top ranked in pros. Well, here's the problem, Ubisoft. By doing this, you are also impacting the casual community, who will no longer be able to use the SMG-11 on Sledge. Just make like a different version of the game specifically for pro players or something. I don't know, for competitions. I mean, Sledge is picked so often because he is easy to use. He is a comfortable op. And if you're going to keep on playing whack-a-mole with operators where whenever one gets a little bit too powerful, despite the fact you wanted them to get powerful, you'll just nerf them. Like, next season, I guarantee you, with the changes they've made to Twitch and IQ, they're going to get nerfed next season. I can guarantee it. Twitch is definitely going to get nerfed. Maybe Jackal, maybe IQ, and maybe even Fuse. I'm not sure. But instead of focusing on all the operators over here, they decide to focus on this. Instead of maybe giving Blackbeard a rework to where his shield only covers his, torso, so it rewards players who go for headshots, or giving Nook her rework, or giving Buck back his frag grenades, or maybe, I don't know, giving Glaz... Yeah, Glaz is getting buffed this season, which is the one good thing. Or maybe giving Callie, more damage to where she can consistently down people, no matter their armor. Or maybe giving Capitao back his ACOG on his Para. Or maybe making shields more reliable for Blitz and Monty. Or maybe, flashes are going to be a little bit more reliable in the next season, so maybe Ying might actually be able to jump up here. Or maybe making Amaru not have a useless gadget. Or maybe better weapons. Or actually, and Dokubi as well. I mean, why? Why would you take away her CZ? I mainly play on console, although I do play a lot on PC. And the CZ was like the one viable automatic weapon that she had. And then you just replace it with the Gon 6. Like, what is the Ubisoft dev team on? Why? Why? You know what? Whatever. And then, like focus on these ops over here. The ones that are in the overpick too weak or overpick too strong category. Because I can guarantee you, Jaeger, the only reason he's picked so much is because of his gadget, and you guys decide to nerf his gun. Like, his gun was good, don't get me wrong. But, what? Legion has a really good gun. Maestro has a really good gun. Mira has a really good gun. Capcan has a really good gun. Oryx has a really good gun. I mean, it's not the fragging potential that always causes someone to have such a high presence in Platinum and above on Ranked and PC. Like, maybe if you guys would show the, entire pick rate for the entire community, maybe we'd see different charts. But no, Ubisoft really only cares about, higher ranked players. But back to where I was. Ubisoft cannot continue to play whack-a-mole with these operators, because you will never let anyone find a balanced comfort operator. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to Ace, because Ace was another attacker that they specifically mentioned. And so here it is, the AK-12. The AK-12's been nerfed. And I'm not gonna say that the AK-12 didn't, deserve to be nerfed in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, it's one of the best weapons in the game. But don't nerf its recoil. I mean, all you're doing is... population targeted by this change. Top ranked in pros. All you're doing is just discouraging newer players from playing Ace or Fuse, right? And you're basically making pros just do a little bit more work to control this recoil, and then they'll just play him, right? Like, you're not deterring top ranked in pros just because you made his recoil a little bit harder to control, right? And just why? I don't know why the dev teams keep on doing this. I mean, even some of the changes that they've made, like the next season, like the new operator Osa, why have they made some of these? Why have they added some of these things? Like, I know, on the new trailer for Osa, they were talking about her weapons, and I think it was mentioned, one of the devs mentioned that she would get the PMM, and the reasoning he gave was because I like the PMM, or because we want to give her I don't remember exactly what it was. I think he said because I like the PMM, or because we like the PMM and we want to give it to her. I get it, right? It's their game, but here's the problem though. We kind of spent money on it as well. Like I spent a good amount of money on like the battle pass and stuff, and I bought Siege whenever it was I think it was like 40 or $50 because I started playing during Operation Chimera, which was the beginning of season 3, and I bought like a deluxe edition or some sort of thing. I don't know. Um, and I think I may have bought it for like $57 because it was on sale. But yeah, I mean, we spent money on this game, and then I see people kind of defending the devs, saying, "Oh, they can do whatever they want; it's their game." Here's the problem, though: they still do have to please the player base to some extent, because that player base is the one giving them the money to keep this game running. But yeah, Ubisoft devs can't keep on playing whack-a-mole with operators because with flashes becoming a little bit more consistent, maybe Yang might kind of start to see more use. And I know for sure with Twitch's buffs, where let me find it. Give me one quick second. Right over here, where her drone can now jump. She has one regular drone. Her projectile was changed to a laser, meaning she now does 5 damage, has infinite range, and yeah, it basically just works like a Maestro cam now, with a very low fire rate because you only have 3 projectiles to shoot. But I can guarantee you that she's going to get nerfed in the next season because the devs are going to say, "Oh, look, she's being picked more often. We should nerf her." And the worst part is that there's a 50-50 chance that they're just going to go for her gun again. Like, because I mean, with Iana, where she got nerfed by getting her scopes removed, I don't know what they're gonna do to Twitch. Like this, they're like a wild card. I don't know if they're gonna remove her drone's ability to jump. They're gonna switch her back to a taser, or they're just going to straight up like nerf her gun and jack up the recoil. Because I mean, even like with Ace and Fuse, right? Ace was so powerful because he was a hard breacher with a good weapon, right? Same thing with Hibana. She is another hard breacher with a good weapon. However, the main difference, the reason why Hibana is over here and not over here, is because Hibana isn't exactly a comfort operator. She has a hard-to-use secondary in the form of the Bearing 9. And I know a lot of people can control the recoil. I can control it on console, but it's don't forget, half of the community's on console. So already, she doesn't have a reliable secondary to switch to whenever she does inevitably run out of those 20 rounds in her AR. So people already, she isn't exactly a safe pick. Ace was that safe pick. He had a reliable AK-12, right? He had a somewhat reliable secondary. He had the French pistol, which wasn't bad. He had claymores, and he has I forgot what else. I think he has breaching charges. I'm not sure, but he was a safe pick, right? He was a safe pick, and they decided to jack up his recoil, which is kind of dumb because this does affect Fuse as well. And I get it, right? Fuse also did get buffed. Let me go ahead and find his little area. Right, Fuse did get buffed as well. He can now place his cluster charges on like Mira's Black Mirror and reinforcements. But the problem is that it takes so long and that it's so loud that you know exactly where it is. And here's the thing though, the moment it breaks through that reinforcement after 3 seconds, there's like a small delay before it starts chunking in explosives. And during that small delay, you can just shoot the fuse charge out. So that, on top of the fact that he now has increased recoil, I feel like this is more of a nerf. Because, see, before, I get it, right? You couldn't put him on reinforced walls whatsoever. But now, you're basically just leaving yourself vulnerable for quite some time whenever you are deploying it, because it is very loud, and you can't, move while you're doing it, or you can't look around. And then on top of that, now there's going to be a huge noise of the cluster charge drilling into a reinforced wall, and then there's a slight delay before it starts chunking out explosives. And in that time, either someone can flank you because they know exactly where that noise is coming from, or it just gets shot out. And now his weapon isn't even going to be usable for like newer players to sort of seasoned players, and especially on console where recoil nerfs hit us twice as hard. So, like, I tried the test server on PC. His recoil is bad. The AK-12's recoil is bad. Like, it's not like SMG-12 bad, but it is like in between Ash's R4C and Zophia's M7 or whatever her weapon's called. But I don't know why the devs keep on doing this, honestly. I mean, yeah, and then you just have some random changes, like Mute suddenly getting nerfed to where his jammers don't exactly jam like an entire reinforced wall. Like it will so here, warning zone shape added to sphere and radius reduced to 4.75 from cylinder 6mm radius, meaning that before, if you place a jammer on like a reinforced wall, you wouldn't be able to place any sort of hard breach on that wall, even if it was like, on the tippy top of that wall, right? Like no matter what, his charge or his disruptor always blocked, the hard breach. But now, say I go Hibana or Ace, right? And I place my hard breach like on the top part of the wall, right? Then it'll his disruptor doesn't stop that anymore. Meaning that you can break the top part of a wall and then chuck a couple frag grenades in or something, maybe a Thatcher grenade, and then disable his mute jammer, and then basically that wall's gone. Like, why? Mute was perfectly fine. Let me go ahead and check the... Yeah, Mute was okay. And keep in mind, this is for, like, Platinum and above. Mute was okay. He was in a fine spot. Why? I mean, Valkyrie has been in the overpicked 2 strong category for a while now. Here, let me go ahead and check the Season 2 notes. Yeah, she's been there for a while. I mean, it goes back even more, but still. And she hasn't been nerfed yet. And I don't really care too much for nerfs, right? I would say buff these operators. And I don't play Siege competitively. I play mostly casual. I like to have fun, But why? I mean, I to some extent, I would get, nerfing Valkyrie. Because she isn't exactly a comfort operator, right? Her weapon doesn't do too much damage. She isn't a fragger. She's more an intel gatherer, right? She's more likely to be used by higher ranked players. So nerfing her, yeah, that would impact higher level players, because if you're playing casually or you're playing like in gold or below, you're not going to see too much Valk. And if you do, they're probably not going to be using it too well, unless they're really, really good at the game, like Smurfing or something. But like, she hasn't been nerfed, and I get it. She is difficult to nerf because her gadget's pretty simple. But then why nerf Mute? Why? Because some pro players and some top ranked players complained about it or something? And oh, look at this. The heavy utility meta. You guys bought this upon yourselves by continuously adding operators that were like, had bulletproof gadgets and stuff. And then also, yeah, like the twist change is also just out of nowhere. Like, didn't they nerf her weapon to prevent her from being used that much? And I get it, right? Most people don't use Twitch because of her drone. They use her because of her weapon. But I know for a fact after they nerf her gadget, Ubisoft's going to see that increase in Twitch being played and say, oh no, her weapon's too powerful. We didn't nerf it enough the first or second time around. Because they rarely ever go for the gadget, right? Like most of these changes, except, like most of these nerfs, sorry, not changes, but nerfs specifically, more focus on weapons. I mean, we can even see this with Zofia from year 2, right? She was over there. And why do you think that? It's because people have been leaving the game, right? It sucks, but people have. And Zofia is a reliable solo pick operator. She has 2 impacts, 2 stuns, a pretty decent, pretty good primary, and a pretty good secondary as well. And she also had breaching charges and claymores, right? And I feel like an okay way to nerf her, maybe take away one of her stuns, right? Or I don't know. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure because the only reason people were using her was because she was a reliable operator, kind of like Sledge. Right? Like you can use her by yourself. You don't need a lot of communication to be able to use her. But of course, she was nerfed into the ground, or at least her AR was nerfed into the ground. And even over here, right? Like let me okay, right over here. What's new about this approach and something we'd love your feedback on, which, no, clearly you don't, because otherwise it would have been reverted back, because she's nothing like what she used to be, right? It is that while the horizontal spread will be stronger than other guns, it will be more predictable and with much less randomness. Really? Really? Much less randomness? Are you kidding me? That weapon feels more like Ella's Scorpion than an AR. I know there's a clip of Shaiko, right? I believe he's a pro player. He decided to hop on to a terrorist hunt, and he decided to try out Zofia's AR. And the moment he tried to control it, he's just like, nah, I'm leaving. He left the terrorist hunt. He's like, yeah, I can't control that weapon. So all you're doing is discouraging newer players from using her, making people who already don't really want to play the game because they have to play by themselves because most of their friends left quit the game because you're taking away like comfortable operators. And you're basically just playing whack-a-mole. I mean, why? I get it, right? Like she was pretty high in terms of the graph, but that's only because it was a reliable operator for people to use by themselves. Right? Like if you would have made some of these operators more viable, right? Like maybe I don't know, giving Buck back his frags. I can't think of anything right now. It's like 1 a.m. I don't know. I mean, like the new IQ buff, right? That does help with communication, right? But the average solo player, at least in my opinion, probably cares a little bit more about, being able to enjoy their time solo queuing and actually being able to win and having fun, right? Like, I'm not entirely sure because I do solo queue whenever I play ranked, but I don't play ranked too often. But, I mean, the new IQ change is definitely going to help solo players because, better communication. So why not do something like that? Right? Why nerf Zofia? Because if you put another really strong contender for like solo queuing into the mix, then Zofia's pick rate would just drop by itself. Instead of having to literally make her like unviable if you use her AR. You have to use her LMG, which means you can't ADS fast enough. Because it doesn't have access to a horizontal grip. Why? I mean, at this point, they're just playing whack-a-mole. I mean, yeah, next season, I bet you Twitch is going to get nerfed. Maybe Hibana, if we do see like a rise in pick rate because of the nerf to Ace. Maybe IQ. I don't know why they keep on doing this, honestly. And it's even worse that they don't care about the console community on top of all of that. Like, they just straight up ignore everyone who's not ranked on PC and Platinum or above. Okay, I've just given up at this point. I mean, there's another game that I've just started playing called 0 Hour, which is what Siege... actually, no, it's not really similar to Siege. It's another CQB shooter, but it's designed to be more realistic, while Siege was designed to be more fun and archaic, which isn't bad. But it's developed by an indie group, or an indie developer studio, or development team, right? And they actually listen to what their player base has to say, and they make changes based off of that. But then Ubisoft doesn't do this anymore. I don't know why. I'm just gonna end this video at this point. I'm sick and tired of this. Eventually I'm gonna quit Siege. I've been playing this game for 3 years. This is the only game that I've played consistently, and it's starting to test my patience. Right? Like I get a lot of people have quit, but I just hate the direction they're going in and how they refuse to listen to their community unless they're like a pro player. But yeah, that's it. I'm done.